Engine failure and a last-minute life-saving decision. How a near-fatal crash has Taiwan rethinking its fleet of aging fighters. Is an elite U.S. Navy SEAL team training to help Taiwan if it is invaded by China? China lifts a ban on pomelo exports. Why it's being viewed with skepticism in Taipei. Plus, the aftermath of Typhoon Yagi continues to flood Southeast Asia, forcing thousands to evacuate. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Liao. The military has confirmed that engine failure was to blame for the crash of a Mirage 2000 fighter jet at sea on Tuesday night. The Air Force is now looking into what caused the jet to lose power mid-air. Jaime Ocon has the latest.
This is the moment Air Force pilot Captain Xie Beixun is pulled out of the water and rescued by the Coast Guard. Late on Tuesday, Xie was flying a Mirage 2000 fighter jet during a training exercise when his aircraft lost power and crashed into the ocean in northeastern Taiwan. Air Force officials said the pilot had roughly 1 minute to decide whether he could save the plane or eject. The military is now confirming the aircraft's engine suffered a malfunction and lost thrust before crashing. The Air Force says an initial check before the flight revealed no problems. It is now conducting a more in-depth investigation to figure out what caused the engine failure. The military has since grounded its entire fleet of French-made Mirage 2000 aircraft until further inspection of the other jets. Taiwan originally had 60 of the fighter jets delivered in 1997. But over the years, at least 7 of the aircraft have been lost due to accidents. Taiwan currently has roughly 400 fighter aircraft in service, and officials say that grounding the Mirage fleet shouldn't limit its ability to protect the country. Much of the debate around the aircraft incident has revolved around the price of maintaining the Mirage 2000 fleet, as it costs almost triple the amount to fly compared to other fighter jets in Taiwan's arsenal like the US-made F-16. Some analysts now question whether the military should be downsizing the Mirage fleet, especially given the rise in threat from China, which seeks to take Taiwan by force if necessary.
因为中国的确对台湾是威胁，那台湾的这个 maintain 的cost 也增加了，可是还在可以承受范围，可以评估的就是把这个 Mirage Free 变成30架，这样子可以在这个效率跟这个成本上面保持一个平衡。
Taiwan's Air Force told TaiwanPlus that there's no plans to downsize the current fleet of Mirage 2000 fighter jets. Instead, they say they're prioritizing the current investigation to understand how one of the aircraft could suddenly lose power. Howard Zhang and Jaime Ocon for TaiwanPlus.
SEAL Team 6, the U.S. Navy unit known for killing Osama bin Laden in 2011, is preparing for a possible conflict between China and Taiwan. That's according to an exclusive report by the Financial Times. Reese Ayers is live for us in Taipei with the details. Reese, what's in that report?
Well, it's news that will likely encourage many in Taiwan. U.S. Navy SEAL Team 6 has quite a formidable reputation. They're among the most capable military in the U.S. and perhaps even across the world. And as you mentioned there, Leslie, they famously took out bin Laden in 2011. And now the Financial Times reports that squad has been training for over a year at their base in Virginia, preparing for a possible Chinese invasion of Taiwan. Now, that report doesn't reveal too many details about what that training involves, but a spokesperson from the U.S. Special Operations Command said its forces prepare and train for a wide range of contingencies. Now, TaiwanPlus today did reach out to Taiwan's Defense Ministry for comment, who simply acknowledged that yes, they do cooperate with the US in terms of military exchange, but they didn't give specifics, and they had no comment about what the US is doing in Virginia. I've also spoken to defense analysts who say that they're not surprised that these kinds of training programs are taking place at any moment in time. The US is likely engaged in many training initiatives around the world, although there was some surprise expressed at the fact that this information was even leaked. Analysts also say that SEAL Team 6 is especially designed for training and testing out new tactics, and that they often go on missions to places where others wouldn't, crossing enemy lines and searching out key targets. Now, the US's position regarding a cross-strait conflict has long been that it would provide Taiwan with the means it needs to defend itself. But that line stops short of saying that the US would actively get involved. And while these preparations are no guarantee that that would change and that the US would jump in, it will likely give Beijing a little more pause and perhaps force them to reconsider the potential costs of an invasion of Taiwan.
All right, well, thank you, Reese. That was Reese Ayers reporting live for us from Taipei. The government is reacting with suspicion to China's sudden lifting of a ban on a Taiwanese citrus fruit. President Liao says there are ulterior motives behind the move and that it won't lead to greater trust with Beijing. John Van Triest has more.
For these farmers, recent news out of Beijing is cause for celebration. China is partly lifting an import ban on pomelos from Taiwan. The large citrus fruit is a favorite in both China and Taiwan as summer turns to autumn. Before the ban, China was Taiwan's biggest market, buying several thousand tons of the fruit every year. The sudden ban in 2022, supposedly due to pesticides and quarantine issues, left farmers with a ruinous glut. Now, fruit grown in Hualien County on the East Coast will be allowed back in. But academics, China watchers, and officials here in Taiwan are wary. Pomelos aren't the only product subject to sudden bans. They see a pattern, a carrot-and-stick policy meant to reinforce China's claim to Taiwan and use money to keep Taiwan in line. The pomelo ban came as then U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan, a trip that enraged Beijing. And the partial lifting of the ban comes at a time when there are quarantine reasons to keep it in place. 48% of this year's crop sampled has failed inspections for issues like bugs, prompting Hualien's government to step in.
防检署就没有发出检疫证明书，那原则上就是不得输往中国。输往中国的是完全没有检出任何病虫害。
二次的处理之后，其实大部分已经合格，已经出口到对岸去，都会积极的想方设法来做好我们检疫的工作。
There's also suspicion about the fact that only Hualien is covered. Unlike the other major growing region in the south, Hualien's a stronghold for the KMT, a party China's been willing to sit down with in the past. Fu Kunqi, a big KMT figure from Hualien, even visited Beijing earlier this year. President Lai Ching-te is among those with suspicions. He told a meeting of his Democratic Progressive Party that China made the announcement unilaterally. He says Beijing bypassed the platform for talks about quarantine issues and didn't consult or tell Taiwan in advance.
中国利用特殊化经贸往来作为分化台湾的工具。 反而不利于建立台海的往来互信，以及促进区域的稳定繁荣。
China's Taiwan Affairs Office has presented the move as a show of goodwill, saying it will work for the benefit of Taiwan's people. But in Taiwan itself, that hasn't stopped skepticism about China's motives and what China hopes the partial lifting of the ban might achieve. James Lin and John Van Triest for TaiwanPlus.
A senior Chinese military official says China will crush any foreign incursion into its territory, including in the South China Sea. Lieutenant General He Lei was speaking on the sidelines of the Xiangshan Forum in Beijing, an annual international defense conference. The last few months have seen frequent clashes between Chinese and Philippine ships in the South China Sea. Beijing claims almost all of the sea as its territory, even though an international court has ruled the claim is not valid. He singled out the U.S., warning it not to use its regional allies to provoke confrontation, saying the Chinese military will never have any patience. North Korea fired multiple short-range ballistic missiles on Thursday morning. South Korea says it detected the missiles before they landed in the sea between the Korean peninsula and Japan. Analysts in Seoul say the flight distance suggests they were designed to attack targets in the south. This is Pyongyang's 10th missile launch this year and comes days after leader Kim Jong-un vowed to bolster his nuclear force to combat the United States and its allies. Pope Francis has urged leaders in Singapore to ensure the country's million-plus migrant workers get a fair wage.
Contribuiscono alla costruzione della società e ai quali occorre garantire un salario equo.
The Pope is on the last stop of a 12-day, four-country Asia-Pacific tour. He praised Singapore for its diversity while urging the island nation to continue fighting climate change through innovation. He is only the second Pope to visit Singapore and will conclude his trip celebrating Mass with over 50,000 people on Thursday evening. Countries across Southeast Asia are being inundated with flooding in the aftermath of Typhoon Yagi. Thousands of people in Vietnam, Myanmar, Laos, and Thailand have been forced to evacuate as the death toll from the disaster continues to rise. Rosie Greninger reports.
Residents in Vietnam's northern Thanh Nguyen province wade through knee-deep water as flooding in the aftermath of Typhoon Yagi continues to devastate Southeast Asia. Flash floods inundated the entire province before many residents were able to evacuate, as the country's Red River swelled quickly to record levels.
Trên 40 năm thì có cái trận lũ lịch sử này và nhà tôi thì ngập hết tầng 1. Hiện tại thì đang thiếu nước và thiếu điện. Khó khăn thì chúng tôi đi lại mọi thứ đều rất là bất tiện. Và giá cả thì cũng tăng.
After hitting China and the Philippines, Yagi, with winds reaching a speed of over 190 kilometers per hour, left a trail of destruction in its westward path across Vietnam, claiming the lives of 179 people in the country. At least 145 are still missing. 30 of those were killed when the storm triggered a landslide in the country's north, while a whole hamlet nearby was swept away by floodwaters. The storm also caused the collapse of a bridge in the capital Hanoi, plunging cars into the swollen Red River. Rescue efforts are ongoing, with thousands of residents living along the riverbank left stranded. For many in the rural areas, the storm damage is irreparable.
Nếu nói về lúa hoa màu thì bây giờ coi như là lúa thì đang trổ bông thì coi như là ngập thì coi như là cũng hỏng hết, thế là thiệt hại hết, coi như là cũng chỉ còn 2-3 sào để cũng mất hết.
Neighbouring Laos, Thailand and Myanmar have also been hit by floods in the aftermath of Yagi. Water levels in Laos' Luang Prabang have also risen, inundating homes and shops in the World Heritage Site and claiming the life of one person. While in Thailand, at least 4 people have been killed and hundreds stranded as heavy rains swept through the country's north, impacting 9,000 homes.
เข้าบ้านเมืองแดงไม่รู้ฝนบางตีกำแพงของพังบางบ้านก็น้ำท่วมค่ะนี่บางหลังนี่บ้าน2ชั้นนี่เกือบจะมิดก็มีบางคนนี่ขึ้นมาอยู่บนหลังคาก็มีเจ้าตัวเนี้ยแต่ว่าตอนนี้น้ำตอนนี้ก็ขึ้นมาเรื่อยๆเพราะว่าเจ้ามาอยู่นี่เป็น30 ปีนี่ก็ครั้งแรกเหมือนกันนะนี่
The storm has now been downgraded to a tropical depression, but authorities are warning residents who are in its path to stay vigilant, with downpours continuing and rivers remaining dangerously high. Dolphine Chen and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
Stay with us on TaiwanPlus News. Coming up next, southern Taiwan sees a rise in sightings of birds of prey. Stay tuned to find out what's got them flocking to the area.
So we have
some chopsticks.
It's like a massage. Stop looking. This is my
attempt. Taiwan's message to the world: go out there and eat everything.
And prosperous.
One of the ones right there. You see it?
Everyone want to become a huge birthday cake for TaiwanPlus.
I just figured that we did. Nice Can you believe it? It's been 3 years. This is the 3rd anniversary of TaiwanPlus.
From the very start of the channel to bringing all these amazing culture.
I'll see all the stories that have been covered and really see Taiwan come to life.
The vibrant culture, innovation, the spirit.
It's multifaceted, like a diamond.
Very courageous, trying new things.
So it opens up the content for so many more people to learn about us.
Way more adventures to be discovered.
Let's add that oil, TaiwanPlus. Let's go 3 more, 6 more, 9 more, 12 more years.
Show the world what Taiwan is all about.
TaiwanPlus को जन्मदिन की बहुत बधाइयाँ.
And wishing TaiwanPlus a very happy
3rd anniversary.
TaiwanPlus 加油
TaiwanPlus 3周年，生日快乐
Happy birthday for your 3rd anniversary.
Happy birthday,
TaiwanPlus.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to TaiwanPlus. All right.
Welcome back. You're watching Taiwan Plus News. German media says 2 of the country's naval vessels will transit through the Taiwan Strait for the first time in 2 decades. Meanwhile, China has warned Germany against the move, saying it would endanger China's sovereignty and security. To learn more about Germany's increasing naval presence in the Indo-Pacific, our reporter Adil Brar spoke to Matthew Sussex, an assistant professor at the Griffith Asia Institute.
We have learned that 2 German ships will transit through the Taiwan Strait. What's the significance of Germany's move?
This is, I think, the first time since 2002 that German naval vessels have gone through the Taiwan Strait. So it's been more than 20 years. And I think, the timing is relatively significant because it reflects German concerns that China's rhetoric on Taiwan may be about to ratchet up even more considerably than it previously has. There have been reports, for instance, in the Chinese media that there are attempts by Taiwan to go down the independence path again. And I think that Germany perceives this as potentially quite hostile rhetoric that could lead to misunderstandings. And so hence the idea, I think, to get involved militarily in freedom of navigation operations in the Taiwan Strait to send a message to Beijing that Germany really hopes that strategic stability is the watchword of the day.
China is Germany's biggest trading partner. Is Germany hinting at a shift in its relations with China with this transit?
I think that there has been a bit of a realization in Germany that China represents a fairly long-term strategic challenge to the interests not just of the United States, but also to major European economies. And this was reflected, of course, in the recent statement that came out of the NATO summit, which identified that China was a strategic challenge. And I think that whereas Germany does have to balance its economic relationship with Beijing with its strategic priorities, nonetheless, I think this is a signal that it is alive to the potential for misadventure, conflict in the Indo-Pacific, and that it is Berlin's preference that the status quo remains.
In 2020, Germany published its Indo-Pacific strategy, indicating Berlin's plan to increase its presence in the Indo-Pacific. Is this transit part of those plans?
Yeah, well, it's interesting that Germany, a couple of years ago, did go down the path of having an explicit strategy on the Indo-Pacific. A number of other countries haven't. But it's interesting to see that not just Germany, but France, the UK, are getting increasingly involved in the Indo-Pacific in a strategic sense. And whereas perhaps they don't have an enormous amount of military capability to sort of ultimately tip balances of power or anything else, it does signal that Germany is looking beyond the borders of the European Union and beyond the sort of transatlantic alliance space in terms of its security.
That was Matthew Sussex with the Griffith Asia Institute. President Lai Ching-te has spoken at an event commemorating the 60th anniversary of a key moment in Taiwan's democratization.
50年前，伫迄个专制独裁概念的乌暗年代，咱所敬爱的女教授，毋惊生命危险，发动台湾人民自救运动宣言，这是一个非常伟大的行动。咱嘛深深影响后来台湾的民主的发展。
Authorities arrested political science professor Ponging alongside 2 of his students in September 1964 for attempting to distribute a democratic manifesto. Pong escaped Taiwan in 1970, living in exile for over 2 decades. Although Pong died in 2022, he remains a symbol of Taiwan's democracy movement and continued pushes for transitional justice. 29 people have been arrested after illegally dumped waste was found buried under a solar power plant in the south of the country. Police have traced the illegal dumping to a criminal group. The group buried waste in at least 4 locations across Tainan, covering over 24 acres of land in total. Illegal dumping is profitable in Taiwan, and environmental groups are urging authorities to check other power plants for buried waste. Surgeons at a Taipei hospital have successfully performed a bone freezing operation. The patient had suffered from swelling and pain on the left side of her face for nearly 2 decades, affecting her ability to eat. She was diagnosed with craniofacial fibrous dysplasia, a disease in the skull that replaces normal bone with fibrous tissue. Surgeons removed the abnormal tissue in her jawbone and applied cryotherapy to treat the swelling. Following the operation, the patient has been able to eat without pain. In China, innovators are racing to make drones for everyday consumers. That's everything from food deliveries to flying taxis. The global superpower is locked in a tech war with the United States and is holding on to its upper hand in this particular industry. Joyce Zeng has more.
Getting a package from the sky is no longer a far-fetched idea in China, where tech entrepreneurs have been flying new commercial drones to cut down on delivery times for goods, even perishable food, especially under tough circumstances.
海上风浪比较大的情况下，在海岛场景下，它可能会停航，就会导致这些物流以及民生用的蔬菜、水果。 然后我们这些可以克服这些一些某些特殊的场景下，可以去一个配送。
Chinese firms have been doubling down on their dominance in the global drone industry, eyeing the low-altitude economy as a major engine for growth. Last month, the first regular drone delivery service in Beijing launched one to deliver food over the Great Wall. Over 30 other drone routes are already running elsewhere, including Shenzhen, Shanghai, and Guangzhou. China's been racing to develop its tech capabilities in a fierce competition against the United States. U.S. President Joe Biden has largely blocked advanced American chips and other high-tech equipment from getting to China, to keep Beijing behind in what both superpowers see as potentially transformative technology, like artificial intelligence and quantum computing. But in manned and unmanned aircraft tech, China has forged ahead. Aside from delivery drones, firms are also betting big on aircraft to transport individual commuters.
Once the economic and safety and comfortable performance improve, it's gonna scale up very fast.
With local firms getting more drones off the ground, China will have to consider how to coordinate and regulate low-altitude aircraft, as innovators push to get their city to become China's first in the sky. Ethan Chen and Joyce Sen for TaiwanPlus.
There have been more sightings of several species of birds of prey in southern Taiwan, thanks to a special project between the local government and farmers. Sandy Chi has the story.
An eastern grass owl is spotted for the first time on the plains of the Gaoping River in Kaohsiung in southern Taiwan. This remarkable sighting is just one of a growing number. The area has also seen the arrival of a variety of other birds of prey, including the collared scops owl and the black-winged kites. The population of these bird species in southern Taiwan has surged, with sightings jumping from just 17 to over 100 in the past few years. That is thanks to the joint efforts of Kaohsiung's government and local farmers. Together, they've built nearly 100 perches throughout the area.
我们跟农民一起合作，累计设置了共93只的猛禽栖架。在去年度，我们共计拍摄到了猛禽有127次。
These perches are part of a forestry bureau scheme launched in 2022. The initiative pays ecosystem wages to people who help protect the habitats of vulnerable species. Farmer Huang Mengsheng is one of those involved in the program, and he's also working with academic institutions, helping them set up 2 more observation perches. He has not only seen scops owls and other birds of prey in his fields, but also witnessed how these birds help him manage his farm.
以前那个老鼠啊，因为这边有养羊嘛，养鸡会有饲料啊，它们老鼠会来吃啊，然后你发现到你有栖架以后，然后那些老鼠突然间就少了非常多。
Now with perches set up across Kaohsiung, people taking part in the project are looking to make southern Taiwan ground zero for a more biodiverse and environmentally sustainable Taiwan. Scott Huang and Saini Chi for TaiwanPlus.
And we'd like to thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. Before we go, check out this show at Vienna Fashion Week. This group of retirees took to the catwalk with their own designs to fight prejudice against older people. I'm Liao. Take care and see you next time.